In Fortnite Ballistic, the gadget you pick can literally make or break the game, and in Season 3, it's no different. But with every new season comes meta changes, making some gadgets more or less relevant based on the changes that they've made. Today, I'm going to be breaking down every gadget in the game, bringing them from S tier to D tier based on how they actually perform in the current meta. Now, this isn't just about flashy plays, it's about effectiveness, utility, and consistency at all levels. Some gadgets may be fun to use to get some clips, but they may not actually have any impact on an actual competitive game. So before we get into it, apologies if I sound a little bit different. I am a little bit sick, so I'm kind of stuffy right now. But let's jump into the tier list. So starting off with Overdrive. Now this feels like it's always going to be a relevant gadget. I can't imagine them ever nerfing it so much that it's not useful. There was that time where they nerfed it and it still is just one of the more powerful gadgets. Faster reload time, faster movement speed, faster defuse, just everything about it makes it insane. So I feel like this has to go in S tier. Every team that's competitive is going to want an Overdrive on their team. Next up, Bubble. So this is an interesting one. There are definitely certain use cases, especially on offense when you're pushing in a competitive match, that make it useful. But the Bubble is one of those gadgets where you kind of pick it based on if you start a certain side on a map. And so just by that alone, it's not going to be super high. There are certain strategies built around bubbles. They definitely have their uses. They're obviously not as powerful as they were when they were indestructible, but they also have more use in competitive than they do in like ranked. I'm going to go ahead and put these in a B tier. Some people may disagree with me. Some people may say that they're A tier, but kind of where I think they are. Next up is Mines. Now, this is a very similar thing to Bubbles. A lot of people pick them if they start on defense, just because you get to hold a bunch of lanes, do some damage, and not have to cover certain areas. That being said, they are also very usable on offense. A lot of people use them to cover rotates. A lot of people, put them on the bomb, or actually just use them kind of like nades, throwing them over walls, getting damage, throwing them in smokes, that sort of thing. So I feel like they're more useful than Bubbles. And because of that, I'm going to have to put them in an A. Next up is the Fire Grenade. Now, this is a pretty useful gadget. It's obviously not going to put out damage like nades do, but being able to Molotov a bomb on a defuse is pretty huge. Being able to clear corners or stop people in tight corridors is pretty huge. It could also be used as an info tool, like tossing it to see if people are pushing a certain side. You're gaining a lot of value from the info alone because it's not a huge damage utility. I would say the big thing about fire grenades is host plants, stop and diffuses, essentially, and info plays. So I'm going to go ahead and say that they're in between an A and a B. I'm going to put them on an A. All right, Recons, I mean, there is no doubt that these go in S. They always will. I mean, I don't think you can ever put something that's essentially a wall hack anything below S. But being able to use them to see through smokes, being able to get early info on whether or not people are pushing a site, being able to see where everyone is sitting post plant, all of the different plays you can do with Recons make them the best gadget in the game, and they kind of have been since season 0 actually. Next up is nades. Now everyone knows that I'm the nade guy, so it pains me to say that they're not an S, but they're not. So much like the Molotov, they can be used for info, but the best part about nades is the damage. Oftentimes you can close out kills when people have taken a bunch of damage, which is pretty big. You're not going to necessarily be able to stop a bomb defuse, even if you use both nades. But they're just such a good offensive weapon to stop rushes. And you can do massive damage to grouped up opponents that the Molotov doesn't really do. It's very similar to the Molotov in its benefits, but it just does more damage and you can't use it for bomb defuse denial. So I feel like it's also got to go in A. Next up is Impulse. This is an interesting one. I'm not even sure as I'm talking about how I'm going to grade this. So on one hand, it is almost essential for teams that play more aggressively. being able to get over walls, change angles that you're shooting for opponents at, or just taking space really fast makes impulses fantastic. A lot of people don't know how to use them right, and I don't know if that's necessarily knock against the impulses, but outside of taking space, they don't have a lot of use. I mean, you can use them on bomb diffuses if you're desperate, knocking people off the bomb. That is a way to use them. They can also be used to break mines, which is pretty big. So because of all that, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like it's also got to go in A. I mean, it's definitely one of those gadgets that's used pretty consistently in comp, no matter what. And you'll also see it in ranked a lot. So I feel like it's an A. Next up, Med Mist. So, you know, last season, Med Mist were very powerful. Using them to be able to like throw them on a smoke and see through the smoke and stop people defusing, but also be able to heal pretty effectively. I mean, last season it made nades pretty much irrelevant. However, with this season, they got nerfed into the ground. They just do not heal very much. And to really have an effective Med Mist, you need to throw 2 at a person, and that just makes it kind of suck. You still get the benefits of being able to see through smoke and, you know, being able to see inside the Med Mist, but with its heal being reduced so badly, it's not as good anymore. Because of all that, I think it's got to go in a C. Last up is walls. This is going to be a hot take to some people. I mean, I know I'm going to get a bunch of comments that are talking about how great the wall is, but let's be honest, it sucks. It is fun to use for clips, fun to use to get special angles, but I'm looking at this from a competitive and ranked area, and in competitive you just don't see walls because they're just not useful. They're really loud, you know when they're coming. The places you use them are kind of obvious. They can kind of stop a rush in like certain tight spaces, but not really. Like, yes, there are definitely uses for them, but they're also just not going to be better than any of the things in A or S tier. Since you only have 5 slots, right now the wall's just not as good. Like I said, it can be fun to use, but when we're actually talking about utility, I just think it kind of sucks. So I'm going to put it in a D. So that is my tier list for the gadgets in Fortnite Ballistic in Season 4. As they stand now, I'm sure there's probably some people who disagree with me, and if you guys disagree with me on some of these, let me know in the comments down below. But I think this is a pretty good layout with them. I mean, it's pretty top heavy, but when you think about it, you have 5 people on a team, and I have 6 gadgets in S and A. So if you're rotating out through those gadgets, typically the meta you're going to see every once in a while, you see those bubbles. Every once in a while in ranked, you see those heals. Hopefully they keep changing the meta so these things shift and it's not just going to be the same scale gameplay. Let me know if you guys like these tier lists. I'm happy to do these more often. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.